Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, hey, it's us. It is Reckless Speculation. Your boy B Chain, your boy Robbie Davis. I would say our boy Raj Meta, but he'll be here in a minute. First, let me ask Robbie Davis, just before we get into our stories, welcome. But it seems like our Vols still maintaining their recruiting and transfer portal pace. We got to be an exciting time in Knoxville.
The most exciting time in a long time. Baseball's number one. Kelly Harper's doing wonders in her transfer portal.
Absolutely.
Josh Heupel's doing wonders in his, and we're gonna get to that later. Rick Barnes still in the mix for a lot of high name athletes, and I'll talk more about a potential travesty that I hope doesn't happen in regards to transfer portal later.
It's not the LSU situation, is it?
It is not.
Okay. I think that could be a tragedy too. We'll come back to that. Brandon Shane, I texted with you a little bit earlier in the week. I had run across some Dwayne Haskins collectibles that I had set aside, and it was heartbreaking to me. After he left the Redskins, I had bought up a bunch of cards and autographs, and it was so cheap. I was paying dimes on a dollar. But his birthday was yesterday. How good was Dwayne Haskins at Ohio State? I think I've asked you before, but I really want to hear it again.
Yeah, I mean he made his legacy there. Coming as a little kid, running through the locker room, saying, "I'm going to do this one day," and then coming through and setting, not only Ohio State records but Big Ten records as well. Pretty impressive. He was a good teammate too, and never really got any trouble off the field. Just a good role model for younger kids as well. So it's a sad story. It breaks my heart every time I think about it. A son, a father, a husband. It's just a tragedy.
Also, how many of us had to deal with being a millionaire at 22 and how you're supposed to act? I think I acted like a fool when I got $20 in my pocket at 22, much less $7 or $8 million. And so, grace to all those guys. That, to me, sometimes it's more of a miracle that these kids, a little less now with the NIL, but at one point you talked about athletes living substandard lives becoming instant millionaires. No wonder so many made mistakes. I make mistakes. So
the key word there is instant. You go around college campuses, or you go around, where we all live. There are tons of 20-year-olds, 21-year-olds who have maybe not millions, but they grew up with money, and it's just what they know. And they don't have family members, friends, everyone piggybacking on them and depending on them for everyone else to survive. So you come up with zero money, negative money, all of a sudden you become a millionaire. And that's something that you have. There's no one that will prepare you for that. And that is where it gets very scary. And that's where things can go incredibly wrong.
Yeah, I mean, you get friends and family come out of the woodwork that you hadn't talked to in forever that all of a sudden want to be your best friend. It's a tough decision for kids at that point. Like Robbie said, coming from nothing, and then everyone typically takes care of their immediate family. Moms, dads, siblings, that sort. But then, unless you got a good core group of friends, you're going to have 1,000 of them that got their hand out or want you to invest or want to take a loan out, And that's how some of these kids go broke quick.
Shaq tells a story about spending $1 million in a day.
Yeah.
And,
Yep. I've heard
it. And that his banker called him in and basically told him, you've got to stop and learn the value of money. And he said that day he changed. And if you've listened to Shaq's story, he's done some smart investment.
Oh, yeah.
He's put his name on product, but he's also bought large chunks of those companies when he put his names on it, like Papa John's, like the doorbell security company that Google or Amazon bought for $2 billion. He's done some smart things. So nothing prepares you. I often think, when I think of those young men, I think lottery winners and how many of them go broke later.
Right.
We all say if we can get our hands on $5 million, we'll never work again and never need money again. And these people get hundreds of millions of dollars and they're broke in years.
Yeah. Well, and that's the thing. The amount of money is not going to change how you manage it. It doesn't matter if you have, $5,000 or $5 million. If you don't manage and budget accordingly or invest accordingly, then you're going to end up broke. It doesn't matter what the number is.
That is it. Well, while we're waiting on Robbie and Raj, we'll go ahead and get started, Brandon, with some, we wanted to get through the draft ratings. And I have from CBS.com, one of the better sites. I read a lot of CBS. This is from Ryan Wilson, just released 42 minutes ago. It's an article he's wrote, ranking every team's draft class from 2022. Panthers, Cardinals, Eagles crush it. Bucks and Bills raise questions. And I'll start and I want to talk in general. His worst draft classes are Tampa, 32, the Bills, 31, Cincinnati, 30. Those teams are Super Bowl contenders, and maybe they're not out trying to win the draft. The teams that are really good like that, Brendan, you feel like they're trying to fill a specific need with the best player to fill that need.
Sure.
Other teams like Atlanta, Robbie, we're talking about Buffalo, the Tampa Bay, and Cincinnati got the worst ratings from CBS.com. And we're discussing how those teams aren't necessarily reaching and drafting the sexy thing. They might be drafting interior linemen. They're Super Bowl contenders that are trying to get better. So it's hard to win the draft when you're that way, don't you think?
Oh, yeah. Well, those kind of grades are based on, hey, we ranked prospect X this high, and they drafted somebody else. No, those teams are drafting for specific needs, specific holes to fill. It's like, if you, in my world, hey, I need an appellate brief writer in my practice. Hey, there could be a great trial attorney sitting there available, but I don't need that. I need a certain need. So some of those draft grades are just, and part of it is just to get people talking and clickbait, as we all know.
Yeah.
No, unless you take a good hard look at, did this team get better? Not what talent they amassed. The NFL is full of talented teams that aren't cohesive.
Absolutely. Brendan, you have something to add to that?
No, I was just going to say, going through the Bengals draft picks, they didn't go O-line until, was it 136 overall pick there? And I think that's what everyone is grading upon. Like, they definitely needed an O-line there.
But they probably had the number one line, the top 2 or 3 lines signed free agents. They've got a completely rebuilt line.
Right. They've got a completely rebuilt line. And, they kind of shored up some of the defense there with some DBs. And I think they did well. They're definitely not on my worst list. Again, like Robbie said, I think people write articles somewhat biased for clickbait. So.
All right, so that brings me to the first team I really want to discuss. And I thought on draft night, the first round, they did really well. The New York Giants with Thibodeau and Neal in the first round, but they kind of went off rail in the second and third round. I think they reached some. Did the Giants – I still think their first two picks, when you get Thibodeau and Neal, and we'll talk about it with the Jets, who absolutely killed the draft, there's only so many elite players. If you get an elite player at the top of the draft, no matter what you do after a certain round, you're reaching and projecting. The Giants left is what we think are two really good football players. Correct?
Yeah. The Giants are one of my top two. I thought that did really well in the draft, just because of those first two picks in the first round. I mean, any team would be super happy to have one of those picks, let alone both. So I thought they did really well. And I don't mind the Robinson pick, wide receiver out of Kentucky either. I think he can, step in and make some production quickly. But they're not far off. A couple pieces here and there. Oh God, I lost his name. What's their quarterback's name?
Daniel Jones.
Daniel Jones.
Yeah, if Jones can manage the game well, Saquon stays healthy. I mean, they've got some players. I think it was a really good draft for them.
Go ahead,
So
Bobby.
the Giants draft is a GM's best case scenario. And what I mean by that, you knock the first round out of the park. And so fan base is happy. Now you have the freedom to draft who you think is the best.
Right.
And no more external pressure, no more owner pressure. You get to evaluate talent as you see it on your big board. And that's what a GM, that freedom is what they want. Because the worst thing to have is waffle in the first round. Oh, it's an iffy pick. I've got to play it safe. Third, fourth, fifth, sixth round. That first round gave that GM. Now, whether they pan out or not, I don't know that. No one knows that. But as far as a draft goes, perfection from a GM standpoint.
Excellent point. The Broncos are in at 28, the Chargers at 27. The team that you just described with the ability to draft off the board and draft as they see fit takes a UTC mock in the first round, and when confronted with it, they said, we had that grade on him. The Patriots are the 26th draft, but I feel like the Patriots have the Patriot way, and that's what they do. Brendan, am I wrong to say that Cole Strange, if you end up 4 years from now hearing that he's an all-pro right guard for the Patriots, are you shocked? Because I'm not.
I wouldn't be, because, like you said, I mean, you're going against the best coach in the history here, and he knows what he needs for his team and what fits and what personnel. I think he got a bit of a bad grade because it was a little bit of a reach. I think potentially, I can't remember where they drafted in the second round, but
they went wide receiver, Taquan Thornton, which they felt
Thornton in the second round. But I thought
go ahead.
I feel like Strange could have been there in the second round at that pick. So I think it was a bit of a reach. But again, who are we to judge and sit here and play armchair quarterback and try and see what kind of film study they do and what they need to fit their team. So, in Bill we trust. I don't foresee him making too many wrong decisions. Again, it was a shock to me, but he probably saw something I didn't.
Robbie, in the same point, Strange was clearly the most athletic guard in the draft. Taquan Thornton ran a 4.3. In the 4th round, they drafted a quarterback out of Western Kentucky who's a super athlete, was super productive. All these athletes they draft is like, okay, he's a small college player. He's a 3rd rounder. But then you read their profile and it's elite talent. And I feel like they don't care. They get the guy they want.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, the most intriguing part to me is the fact they're even out scouting UTC players. And that's not just hey, last day of the draft, let's just pick somebody. Bill Belichick's the one like, oh, you're always trying to outsmart everyone else. But he typically does outsmart everyone else. And so it's like he's not trying to, he just is. Like that's just how it goes. So yeah, I mean, yes, I mean, until proven otherwise, I mean, what are you gonna say? Like, yeah, let's let them all see if they all pan out. But I'm not gonna be like, oh, that's a horrible draft because look, he's the one making the picks, and as much as Belichick has control, Kraft's in there too, and man, Kraft's been the best owner in sports in the last 2 decades. So they're both signing off on it. So until proven wrong, I'm going to give them a pass.
And I'll remind everybody that Brendan James lookalike was sitting at the podium, at the Rams podium when he was drafted, and they both were aghast because this is somebody they had identified that they wanted at pick 100. So it's not like he wasn't on a lot of people's radar. Welcome, Raj Mehta. We're going through the draft. Jump in when you have something to add. So we'll go from 26 with the Patriots. Next couple, I don't see. Well, let's take a little stop at 25 with the Pittsburgh Steelers. Guys, is it all about how productive Kenny Pickett is? Kenny Pickett, Raj, determines how successful the Steelers draft was. All right, we can't hear Raj. He's on mute. Let me see if I can get him off mute. Yeah. Got you off mute, dude.
Is that better?
Yeah.
Yes.
Perfect. I wouldn't say it determines much. I mean, it was an interesting pick in that, they signed Mitch Trubisky, who is not even worthy of the term placeholder. You ideally you want somebody to develop and grow underneath a guy like that. I'm still kind of booting up, but I was trying to think of the other draft picks the Steelers made. If somebody could help me out. I mean,
George
I know
Pickens was an interesting pick in the 2nd round. It's a clear first-round talent.
First-round talent. Sorry.
Had an ACL. Go ahead.
Big receiver, questions about top speed and separation, but I call that nonsense. I agree. He's a first-round talent. Another good pick. They did lose Juju, but still have Deontay Johnson. So there's a lot of help there. The tight end Freiermuth is just getting better and better. So still a lot of weapons in Pittsburgh. This draft to me is not something that they, really with 0 teams, can you judge anything immediately? But it was an interesting pick, to say the least.
The Bears at 24, and we'll stop here at the Rams at 23. We all talk about, Robbie, the Rams trade around their first wave pick. They trade for Stafford. They trade for Von Miller. And still, they didn't have a pick until the 3rd round, but they come out with 8 new bodies to add to this football team. Even though they're not 1st and 2nd round picks, the production the Rams are getting in the draft, they trade 2 first-round picks for Matthew Stafford, but they get a 5th and a 4th back. They're trying a new model that I kind of like.
Well, they're essentially playing the NFL's version of Moneyball, but with money instead of it being everything on a budget. And where they're doing, hey, we're reinventing the system, but we've got money and we've got a rich owner and we've got all the bells and whistles. People want to come play in LA. They're located in the best, in my opinion, the best professional sports city in America, where you want to be. So you can attract free agents. People can come play for less if you're winning. That's a place you want to be. And so, yeah, why, if you're in that position, why risk drafting these unproven players when you can trade that and get proven commodities? And all they were missing was a quarterback. Got a quarterback. They're in a 2 or 3 more year window. See if you can win another one, maybe 2. Go for it.
Yeah, if I may quickly, Rob's absolutely right. It's now an organization and a culture akin to the Patriots, not quite the same in terms of longevity, but yeah, Allen Robinson, Bobby Wagner, they both could have gotten more elsewhere. And they came to a team where they knew they could flourish. The Rams draft, people said, hey, did they need Kyron Williams from Notre Dame? I think that was a steal. Sure, they have Akers, but his durability has been a question. I also like the pick after that, even though I loathe UCLA. Quentin Lake, the safety. He's a playmaker. He's Carnell Lake's son, if anybody remembers him. Dating ourselves again. But they just got – is it possible they got better?
Yeah, it is.
It didn't get worse.
Definitely didn't get worse.
All right, guys, let's move on to 22. Shane, in your division now, the Titans has a real threat for the first time in several years. And I think the coach told you, we are taking Matt Ryan and we're going for it by drafting a wide receiver in round 1, a huge tight end in round 2, a tackle in round 3, and then coming back for the second tight end in the 6th round. They're getting Matt Ryan protected and more weapons to go along with Jonathan Taylor. Michael Pittman already in that offense.
Yeah, they are. I mean, they definitely got better. I think Matt Ryan's definitely an upgrade from Carson Wentz. It's unfortunate they had to trade for Wentz in the beginning anyway, but they're definitely gotten better. And Ryan, we've talked about this before. He's similar to Tannehill kind of quarterback, but if you protect him and get the right weapons around him, I mean, he's a veteran. He can make the right decisions. So yeah, they're not favorites on paper to win the division. I think the Titans might still be just because we did, but they're the ones I'm looking out for.
Vegas has the Colts as the favorite now after the draft.
Okay.
Really?
So I think Jelani Woods was a really, really good pick at the second round or third round, actually. That was
great.
Fantastic. He stayed that long. I think the Colts with Matt Ryan with these drafts got 2 to 3 games better. And I think the Titans with this draft and what appears to be at least a look at a rebuild got 1 to 2 games worse. So that division has tightened. No pun intended. But I think I'm surprised the Colts are the favorites. I still think the Titans should be the favorite, but barely. But they're going to be neck and neck. And the Jags and Texans both just suck. I have in my contract, I have to throw shade at the Jags and Texans every time I get a chance to.
The one I pulled up has
cherry picking.
It's basically a dead heat, but I mean they have the Colts as a slight favorite. Then I looked at DraftKings and it's a dead heat plus 120, so it pulled even or a slight. But there's no way the Jags or the Texans are winning this division at any point.
No.
Did the Colts do enough on defense? They signed Gilmore. Some say he's aging. They traded Rocky Sin for Yannick Ngwake. I can't say his name ever. He was a Raider. Did they do enough? And to Rob's point, Jelani Woods, freak, 6'7", 6'8". I love their first pick. It was in the second round. Alec Pierce from Cincinnati, another 6'3", 6'4" guy that runs a 4.4. Played with Desmond Ridder, just sensational. Their first 3 picks went offense. I think they could have done more. I know that they're strong in linebacker, but the defense is what cost them late in the year.
They did add 2 big run stuffers up front. Maybe not the sexiest picks, but two huge defensive tackles, one from Mississippi State and Curtis Brooks, and then one from Missouri State and Eric Johnson. Curtis Brooks from Cincinnati. I'm sorry. I don't know, but I do know they felt from what I still get a lot of coach tweets. I think they feel pretty good on the defensive side if they can slow down the run game.
Yeah, I mean, if it wasn't for Wentz making bonehead, I mean, they had the Titans dead to rights, and then Wentz threw one of the worst interceptions you'll ever see at the goal line. Like, their defense was they had some injuries, but overall, their defense was good last year.
No first-round pick because of the Wentz trade.
Just horrible.
The Washington Commanders are 21. I don't have a lot to say there. 20 is the Cleveland Browns, who had traded pick 1s and 2s for Deshaun Watson, but were able to pick up 3 third-round picks, 2 fourth-round picks, a 5th, 2 6th, and a 7th. Almost a Rams model rebuilt, and I absolutely love their pick of Alex Wright, the UAB edge rusher. Is somebody that I've read a couple articles about associated with the Falcons. Is it? I mean, feels the same. Now, Deshaun Watson's got legal problems. Not talking about that. You trade for a quarterback your first 2 picks. You make some moves, pick up 3 or 4 picks later on. It sounds and looks like it's the same model to me. Shane, does it not?
It does. And I think they showed their hand a little too early with Baker Mayfield as well. Nobody's wanting to trade for him, and nobody wants to pick up that money. So to get rid of him, they're going to have to pay a hefty bill to do so. But yeah, I feel like it's the same model. We'll see how this Deshaun Watson thing plays out. I think that was a stretch to guarantee that kind of money for someone that you could not even have playing for, God knows how long. It's just that the Brown's going to brown, man. The Brown's going to brown. That's all I could say.
The Vikings were at 19, but I want to go to the Texans again in your division, Robbie. At 18, I had a much higher grade than 18 on the Texans draft. And I'll get comments from you and Raj both, because I think draft not, Raj, you felt the same way about the Texans. They come away with Stingley early, also Kenyon Green. John Minchie is there too. Robbie,
Harris.
Yeah, it's a good draft for the Texans to me.
Mm-hmm. Minchie was a great pick.
No, I think this is an excellent draft. I don't know why they're getting dinged to 18. I thought all the way through their drafts were smart. They obviously filled needs because the Texans need everything. But yeah, I thought it was a great draft. These are plenty of players to be traded away later for nothing. I mean, I thought they've done well. Hopefully, these are a lot of Titans in the future.
All right, Raj, I know you liked the Texans draft that night. Do you still
I'll
look
chip
at
in for Bill O'Brien to come back to Houston.
Do you still feel the same way about the Texans draft?
I do, because they are realistic. I mean, we all have discussed how people get desperate for a quarterback no matter what, just based on round and need. Houston didn't do that. Davis Mills, they are under no delusions, is not going to win much, let alone a Super Bowl. But they're building around him. They're getting better on the line. Stingley arguably was the best overall player in the draft to many. What in the world is that?
I have no idea.
That's some weird.
Playing some music.
You're the one that likes
got a
Swifty.
Bottle of wine behind
Hey,
his
I am a
computer.
Swiftie.
I know, that's probably your music.
No, that wasn't Taylor Swift. Taylor Swift makes brilliant music.
I mean, it's
This
all
is-
lame, but Hey, one thing about Houston is they built defensively. And if you remember in their corners, they had a great secondary when they were winning. Kareem Jackson, Dunta Robinson, Jonathan Joseph they acquired. They shut down everything up front and then got pretty good up, the linebackers. Bottom line is they filled needs, and they have needs all over. And if you look at them position-wise, I don't think they got – I think every pick was a different position. That's what is needed, and that's like the opposite of the Jacksonville Jaguars theory.
Yeah. Well, I think they built. They're building, obviously rebuilding, but I think they're starting with the core guys, not so much sexy picks, but I think they're starting there, and then in a next year's draft they'll get a couple skilled position players, maybe figure out the quarterback situation. I mean, they're a year away from flipping it and being a contender. That's just how the NFL is. Wait a year and you can completely revamp your team and rebuild, and you're a playoff contender. So,
Cool.
NFL not for long.
Question for you guys: If you put Derek Carr on that team, is it a playoff team right now? Or Tannehill?
Probably.
Randall?
Probably not. Not yet. I don't want to get bent down. San Francisco coming at 17. The one thing I'll say about San Francisco, and I want to move on to 16, they drafted another quarterback and another running back. That's 3 running backs and 2 quarterbacks in 2 drafts. Don't understand it. Number 16, and I do want to spend some time on 16, the Tennessee Titans. I think the Titans should have been higher, but you've got to take in consideration the draft day moves. A.J. Brown, Burks, you trading back, picking up more picks. Mid-pack, Titans guys, I thought they did better than mid-pack. How about you? Robbie, we'll go with you first.
I find this a fair rating. I think because you don't know yet this is one of those you may go back and re-rate because you don't know what Burks is getting versus what Brown would have cost. I like McQuarrie in the second round. But I mean, the big either home run, like, hey, if you're talking about Malik Willis as you were talking about him, Randall, well, we just got Russell Wilson, and that's a Super Bowl window. If you can get a quarterback on their rookie contract and build around them. Now, I don't think he's that. I thought third round was accurate for him. And going back to Pittsburgh, they got the quarterback they wanted. They could have got him in the second round. So how does that work out? But I mean, I think that's the lottery ticket, right? Malik Willis, third round. This is a go back and re-rate. So right now, I'm comfortable with them being right in the middle of the pack. I think they got a little bit better. Got a tight end, which is good. McQuarrie, I think, is the best pick of the bunch for a second round. But a solid draft. I don't think it was outstanding, wasn't horrible, but could be great.
Jay, thoughts?
Yeah. I think the most solid, probably impactful player initially is, the McCreary pick, Roger, in the second round. So, but Malik Willis, I think, with the high upside, I mean, obviously the
boom bust, boom bust.
But yeah, it's a low floor, high ceiling type deal here. But in the third round, I'm okay with that. I'm okay with trying to hit a home run there. Your average draft hits are about 50% anyway, and usually that comes in the first 2 rounds. So, taking a risk there, I'm fine with. I think we got a little bit better. I was heartbroken about the A.J. Brown trade, but now hearing a lot of talk lately and things coming out, he didn't really sound like he wanted to be here. And his press conference, he said, the decision to come here. I mean, what decision? He was traded. Like, he didn't really have a decision unless he forced the Titans to put him in that situation and make that decision. So, you know, he comes out and says that he would have stayed with the Titans for $22 million a year. I think they offered like 16 or 18. You know, it is what it is.
Any of you tax people, I wonder what the actual money difference is and what he's getting in Philly versus what he would be getting in Tennessee with the income tax.
Not
Yeah.
much. Hey, one
Yeah.
question, and then we'll move on. What do either of you make of Ryan Tannehill's comments? And by the way, I do think Malik Willis, all joking aside, is the highest upside of any quarterback in the draft. I also think Malik Willis could be playing for the Nashville Cats or whatever the arena team is now in 2 years.
100%.
But
And I think all the quarterbacks in this draft could be in the same boat. That was how bad I hated this quarterback draft.
what do you make of the Tannehill comments, Robbie?
I mean, that's what I expect someone to say. Like, so you're like, why would you like, hey, like this guy there's only one quarterback position on the field. It's not like wide receiver, it's not like running back, it's not offensive line, it's not cornerback, it's not safety, etc. The only way that guy plays over you is if you train him to be better than you. Look, you're a competitor. No, I mean, I'll help him with the playbook, but I'm not going to train him to beat me. That's
Right.
You want survival skills. No, Tannehill should say, my job's to win games. The coaches coach him. The coaches coach me. I'm here. I'm the starting quarterback.
Yeah, I mean, you look at past did Brett Favre mentor Aaron Rodgers? No. Did Aaron Rodgers mentor Jordan Love? No. Did Brady mentor Garoppolo? No. He got his butt traded.
Yeah.
It's a competitive.
Those are all
league.
superstars that are very
Well, I mean,
self-centered, though.
Not even like that. I mean,
This
of
could
my
be the worst draft
mentors are
ever.
people that I've read books about, and I've read how they do an opening statement. That's how I do it. Like, yeah, you got to learn on your own.
Yeah,
Kurt-
but you gotta
Kurt
be
Warner
competitive.
disagrees.
Well, look, you're not there, like you said, you're not there to mentor him. That's the coach's job. If he's got a question on a play or something, yeah, open book or whatever. But you're
just
not
a-
seeking him out to mentor unless you're traded into that position. If you come in late as a veteran quarterback and you're on your down slide of your years, then and you know your role as a mentor to bring some like Alex Smith to Patrick Mahomes, that's a different story.
I got you. We got
Just a bad look, though. Don't say that. It's stupid.
I like it.
So
I do too.
15 is the
It's not
Dolphins.
good.
14 is the Cowboys. 13 is the Saints. 12 is my Atlanta Falcons, Raj. Well, that night in Atlanta, it didn't get a lot of play. Looking at it now, Atlanta did maybe what a bad football team should do. Take one of the surest picks in the draft. And I think that's what Atlanta did with Drake London, is get one of the surest I'm going to hit draft picks of the draft. Thoughts as a USC guy?
Yeah, I didn't see anyone deadpan that pick. Every pundit I saw, even the jerks on CBS Sports NFL, they loved it. Just because it's smart. Like you said, he's, his health was more or less blown out of proportion. He kind of showed that at his pro day. With Cordero, him and Pitts are just freaks, and they present so many matchup problems down the line. And that's what they were thinking. They were building from the outside. Another team that, I don't believe drafted any of the same position. They may have a couple of linebackers. I think one was inside, one was outside. But I thought this was a very, I love the second round pick too, that kid that some say the Penn State kid has got, super quick off the line. And, of course, Desmond Ridder, who could be the steal of the draft. In my opinion, he was the best overall, most polished quarterback. Another guy that people say is not going to lose you games, but is a very intelligent, great decision maker. You put that guy back there with Cordero, they got to get better on the line and on defense, obviously. But Pitts, London, interchangeable, move all over the field. I thought it was extremely smart, and I don't know if it's good or not, but most pundits agree.
I like. We'll move off the Falcons, but I want to give a little love to the 5th-round pick and Tyler Algiers, the running back from BYU.
He was good.
And that is some place that you could be a 5th-round pick and enter the Atlanta backfield with Cordell, who's really not a running back. Damien Williams, a free agent signing. They cut the running back they picked up last year from the Panthers. So he kind of enters in a battle for playing position. So that is somebody that came in late that could help the football team.
He runs with bad intentions. That's all I'll say.
At 11 was the Ravens, but at 10, I highly disagree with it. We're going to have to stop for a minute. I did not have the Jaguars this out. I did not like the Jaguars draft. I didn't like the first pick in Travion Walker. I thought Aiden Hutchinson was the best player. Anybody like the Jags draft this high?
Nope.
Let's move on.
The Jags they drafted.
Let's not give them any respect.
They drafted 2 linebackers, 2 cornerbacks. They drafted a running back 2 years in a row. They're so stupid.
We're burning air time on them.
Ravens too low, by the way. I thought they hit home run. Huge home run.
I won't disagree. Another one I think is too low, number 9, the New York Jets.
Yeah.
I especially thought the Jets' first and second day was just elite. And you talk about adding Sauce Gardner, Garrett Wilson, and Jermaine Johnson in the first round. That's 3 Pro Bowl potential talents, in my opinion. Raj?
That's value. They also got the best running back in the draft in Breece Hall. In my opinion, best corner. Wilson, I will say, is probably the best receiver, but London's a different kind of player. Many people thought Johnson was the best defensive end, and for him to fall down to 26 and then getting Breece Hall, I thought it was a brilliant draft. I don't know what people are thinking. They plugged a ton of holes, and wow, yeah, that's way too low.
Shane, you were really high, and Robbie, I'll come to you. I want to get your comments on the Jet. Both of you were super high on their first day picks.
Yeah, they're my favorite draft of the whole league this year. I absolutely loved what they did. They killed the first and second round. Pretty much throughout the whole draft, they really did. Like Raj said, Breece Hall in the 4th round, great pick. Even, not to be a Ohio State guy, but Jeremy Rucker, tight end, another great pick. So I really think, yeah, he can block well, and he can, he's not a super fast guy, but he's a big body. He can catch the hot route. So I really love their draft. I know they had a ton of picks early, which makes their draft look better, but they didn't screw it up, and I think they did really, really well. Mike Rush said they plugged the holes.
Michael Carter there too, sensational.
Mm-hmm.
Robbie, any thoughts?
Yeah, just briefly. This is the first time I'm seeing this list, and so I'm scrolling down as we're talking about it. I don't know who's ahead of the Jets, and I'm not sure why anyone is. Only thing I can think of is the Jets only had 7 picks, but for 7 picks, they nailed it. And second, just real not off topic, but just a side observation. Man, Luke Fickell is getting players at Cincinnati.
Yes.
I think they're going to be a playoff fixture, not a fixture like Alabama, Clemson, Ohio State, but they're going to be there. I think that he's doing an impressive job there.
Getting Bama and SEC transfers to Cincinnati. Yeah. Never thought that would happen.
Number 8, I found interesting, but you have to take the totality of the draft. Number 8, the Las Vegas Raiders, and I think a lot of that depends on the acquisition of Devontae Adams with those picks. Raj, how did you feel about it? I think we have a science. The Raiders trade away all their picks. They have a good draft.
Yeah, they can't screw it up, which was I was most ecstatic about. You're absolutely right. it does include Davante Adams based on what they gave up. This is the New England Patriots regime with, GM from the Patriots, Josh McDaniels, who people think is much more ready now. They drafted intelligently for once. I love, Neil Farrell Jr., the Tennessee kid who I thought Matthew Butler, who was a force at times last year. Zamir White from Georgia. And most importantly, their first round pick, Dylan Parham from Memphis, getting him where they did in the third. That guy can play all across the line. He's a day one starter. I can't believe it, but they were smart.
Think so. Go ahead, Brandon.
No, I was just gonna say, yeah, I agree. I think they played it smart, and they, like Raj was worried about, they didn't screw it up. So
The Packers are
Kudos to
number
them.
7, but they had 11 picks. So, of course, with 11 picks, the next two teams, Packer 11 and the Chiefs at 6, had tons of picks. But what I did find interesting is the Packers finally took 3 wide receivers. I think they took one in the 2nd, one in the 4th, and one in the 7th. Is Aaron Rodgers more happy now, Brandon?
Got to be. He's got his money. I know he's happy about that.
He's happy, and he's got some receivers. The
Yeah.
Chiefs at 6, I think, had a great day. Raj, the Chiefs really killed it draft night.
Well, here's my question. If the Raiders get credit for trading picks for Davante Adams, do the Chiefs, get dinged or dunged? I can't remember the verbiage, past tense, but they gave up Tyreek Hill for picks. And I know that people thought that, Sky Moore, fairly unproven. I know people loved him. I like Karlaftis. That guy gets after it. McDuffie, Pac-12 guy, very good. I don't know, sensational, but this feels like a Rivals 247 type thing where volume kind of takes the place of quantity over quality.
I think that's the place we are at for 7 and 6. Also 4 with the Seahawks, but I want to stop. 6, let's see. Let me do these real fast. 7 is the Packers. 6 are the Chiefs. 5 is the Lions. The 4 is Seattle. And they all have tons of picks. But 3 is the Philadelphia Eagles. Jordan Davis, I think the best interior lineman. And they get A.J. Brown. Then they come back and they get maybe the best center in the draft. Then they have Nakobe Dean, a linebacker that fell. The Eagles, with A.J. Brown being added, Brandon, boy, they added a ton of potential talent.
Yeah, for sure they did. I know there was talks of AJ being excited with Jalen Hurts and vice versa. But he's got to stay healthy.
Yeah.
He only played 9 games for us last year, and his knees are starting to wear out. So I think if he can stay healthy, maybe they hit a home run there with AJ. Is he top, 4 or 5 receiver right now for the money that he got? I don't think so. He fit our scheme well, and he had good rapport with Tannehill. But that's yet to be seen. But I think they definitely got better, and we'll see what Hurts can do. That was kind of the excuse, was the lack of weapons. But Smith, he's come into his 2nd year. I think AJ being there, if healthy, will help him out quite a bit.
All right.
Are those 2 of the best 3 Georgia defenders? By the way, 15 total picks. Wow.
Yeah.
But are those 2 of the best 3? Dean and Davis?
Yeah.
2 of the more active.
I'll say this.
Everybody's contributing on that draft.
So Jalen Hurts is a top 3 quarterback fantasy pick in the fantasy draft now. And also, this wasn't my line, but somebody said it. and it was brilliant. They said Nakobe Dean either has some serious medical issue or he's a serial killer. Like how he fell that far down. Like, no, like that's a steal, man. The Eagles did great. They, for a ball control offense to now load up on this defense, I'm if it's stock, I'm buying the Eagles.
The Cardinals are at 2, tons of picks, and I strongly disagree with the number 1 overall draft class. The Carolina Panthers, they call the best value in the draft being the 6th overall pick in EI out of North Carolina State. Also, Matt Corral, they call a huge value. Cade Mays, I don't see it for the Panthers. I had them as probably a mid-draft pick. Anybody got the Panthers as your number 1 class? To me, if you put the Jets and the Panthers side by side, no competition.
I think the Giants are above the Panthers too. Personally.
Easily.
I don't know where this is coming from, these grades you're getting, but
CBS Sportsline, Wayne Wilson.
Yeah,
I think it's
this rating alone just sank this whole entire draft ratings. Well, like you got an offensive lineman, great offensive lineman, grant you, at pick number 1, no second round pick. You pick Matt Corral at number 3. Again, we've talked about this ad nauseum. There are no good quarterbacks in this draft. So wait till
very polarizing guy.
If they had gotten a Tyreek Hill or something in this draft, I can see his point. I don't see the Riders' point right now. Pointless to me.
Yeah,
it depends on your opinion of homeboy of Matt Corral. I'm not high on him, but some call him the steal of the draft. Others are like, "What are you doing there?"
I mean, haven't we seen this exact same person over and over again? Johnny Manziel.
That's the exact person I was thinking about.
Yeah, like this college quarterback Tebow can run around, but look, it's few and far between to make it to the pros.
All right,
Cade
Mays.
Mays.
One team that you think won draft day, Brandon.
Draft A, it's definitely the Jets.
Robbie.
Man, the NFL franchise, just their conglomerate. They just do everything better than all the other sports leagues combined. They're the winners as always.
Raj.
Just the Raiders getting Devontae and not effing up the entire draft. I mean, it happens every year. And I'm actually like, okay, I'm not wanting to suffocate myself.
I'm going to give you the Rams and their 7 picks with no pick before the 3rd round. I think they've killed it for what they had. Let's move on real fast, and we're just going to touch real fast in the NCAA portal. And they both involve USC and Tennessee. The stories, though. First, we'll start with Tennessee lands former 5-star Brew McCoy. Raj, this is a real football player, and I tell people, this is a guy that never really truly had a position in high school. He was as good at the rush end and linebacker as wide receiver. He popped in 20 when he did play, 20-so catches in the COVID year. Suspended last year after domestic violence charges. But you got to think they asked Lincoln Riley if he was welcome back, and he said there was discussions. You've got to think that there was some talk of bringing him back. But I think it's best for him to get away from SC, go somewhere new, fresh start for Brew McCoy.
Yeah, this type of thing has surrounded McCoy since his time at Modern Day. But he's a sensational football player. With SC, it was political. They've had issues in the past. It was a bad look. The kid got charged, then the charges were dropped. And USC didn't feel like they could save face by keeping him around. They did have a very deep receiving core, and it could get deeper with Addison. But I think it's a sensational transfer. It's going to be, like you said, best for everyone. And Brew McCoy can do so many things. Again, in high school, he played running back, DN linebacker. The guy could even, play corner and safety. A sensational player. And with Hooker, I'd be shocked if he doesn't start day one. He can block.
He's a day one starter.
We're going to miss him badly, but I understand with the politics and everything at USC, and they dug their own grave when it comes to that stuff. But, I wish him the best, and I feel like he got a raw deal, but I understand.
Robbie, I'll come back to you to comments on Addison. Just a second, Raj. Robbie, I feel like this was big for Josh Heupel. And right now you start with Cedric Tillman and Brew McCoy, two guys that are both 6'3", 220-ish on the outside of that offense.
Yeah, so what is most encouraging is Heupel being a first year plus SEC coach, being able to get into play with these players, because he didn't recruit them at UFC or UCF. And typically when players enter the transfer portal, they kind of know where they're going already. So they already have relationships with coaches and all those kind of things, because you can't recruit until you enter the portal, technically. And so for Heupel to be able to get these guys really shows they're on top of it and they're ready to move.
Also, I think we got to give our friend Bayless Jones a assistant recruiting coordinator pay for this one. When he left USC, he was no one on nobody's draft board. Yeah. And maybe the Bears have no more important pick this year than Bayless Jones. Both USC transfers, both friends.
A lot of interaction between two teams. Last thing about Brew McCoy, he was booked on a DV charges towards a spouse or combatant, $50,000 bond. In the end, the DA chose not to file criminal charges, but USC's Title IX investigation, in their opinion, justified not bringing him back. Again, I wish him the best. I think he got a raw deal, but it's a sensational player, but it's not like he's completely absolved, in my opinion. You hopefully things go well for him.
It's as I heard someone said, there's a lot less trouble to find you in Knoxville, Tennessee than LA, but you can still find it. The last thing I want to talk about transfer portals, and go ahead, Robbie.
I was going to say, with DVAs, so a lot of states, a lot of jurisdictions, a lot of cities have policies where if the cops get called for a domestic violence disturbance or assault, whatever it is, someone has to go to jail. They have to, because if you leave the scene and something bad happens, you could be on the hook civilly. And so that's one of the I have no idea about him one way or the other. I don't know anything around that, but just putting it out there for people to know that there are a lot of guilty people that deserve to go to jail and get whatever punishment they get. There are a lot of arguments that are yelling and neighbors can call the cops and someone's going to jail for that argument that's not necessarily violence. So just absolutely. Do not prejudge.
I think you're rationalizing in this particular situation.
Yeah.
But whatever.
All right. I want to move on because we want to get to the NBA and NHL hockey. But for the first time ever, with Jordan Addison, Pitt's returning receiver, one of the nation's leading receivers, he goes in the portal the last day. He's throwing with Bryce Young, but rumor is he's going to USC. Pitt, for the first time that I know of, an AD is accusing another school in tampering in USC. Raj, what is your take on this, and what have you heard?
It's funny that Twitter rumor started by a guy named Adam Brenneman, who was a disgraced former Arizona State staffer, fired, suddenly became fact. I think they're whining. I think this is I read an article, if this were Bama, I'm rationalizing now. If this were Bama or Ohio State, do people throw up a fit? Lincoln Riley was fairly neutral, or not many people had opinions on him in Oklahoma. Aside from their rivals, suddenly he's a lightning rod at USC. There is no proof, no confirmation that anybody had contact with him. This is rumor becoming fact. If it did happen, then by all means, I think he may go to Bama. He does hang out with Bryce Young a lot. But, yeah, it's interesting that Slovis from SC goes there, and then on the last day of the portal, day of eligibility for the portal or what have you, he decides, for whatever reason, he doesn't want to play there. It's curious about his opinion on Slovis, but I think it's a lot of smoke. Again, a lot of Lincoln Riley, the most acrimonious divorce since Rich Rod in West Virginia. I don't think there's much there, but I'm not there, so we shall see.
Robbie, Jane, it's not the last time we're going to hear NIL tampering charges brought in this sport now, is it?
Not at all. I mean, we're still in the infant stages of this whole transfer portal and everyone's trying to figure it out as we go. There's going to be new regulations and rules and accusations. And I mean, this is going to go on for a while until they can really nail down some type of outline of what should or shouldn't be.
There's no collective at USC, by the way, and they've lost multiple recruits to other teams, like Ohio State. So just whatever what that's worth.
I know, but the only way
there's nothing wrong with a collective. I don't care, but
the only way to combat a transfer portal, guys start making accusations and allegations against other teams to stir up mess. So
yeah, I mean, it's a punk move.
Yeah.
Robbie, last
without
words.
fact.
Yeah. What Brandon alluded to was until they get it under control, there is no they. There is no NCAA. So until there's a 32, 30, 28, 45, whatever it's going to be, that conference that's going to unite. And it's going to be, this is our league. This is our NFL minor league. We're going to do a salary cap. We're going to do something like that. That's the only way, that's where it has to go, because the NCAA sat behind the wheel, hoping and set in the dark, being like, oh, please don't find us. Don't find us. Don't find us. Well, people found you, and now you're nothing. And so now the floodgates have opened. So until there's a new league founded, I assume the Big Ten, SEC are going to come together, and then they're going to get USC. We've talked about USC, Oregon, UCLA, Clemson, Florida State, Miami, and then with Texas and Oklahoma already in. They're going to form their own league, and they're going to play, and that's going to be the championship. And they're going to have their own rules and their own payment plans and everything.
They'll get the TV deals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
right,
inevitable. It really is.
I want to, right. Robbie, I'm going to let you host the NBA segment, or Jane, whichever you want. And I'm going to throw it to Raj to talk about the NHL playoffs. And you're off, Raj. And I'm going to tell you my knowledge of the NHL. I used to play Blades of Steel in the 90s. Go ahead.
That game was sweet. I did love that game. It's kind of, I think by Konami made it, like the people that made Double Dribble.
Yes.
That was a sweet game. I love the goal. But, yeah, there's nothing like hockey playoffs if you have a hockey team. I know that you guys are Predators fans as well. Every moment counts. The Predators lost their goalie, which is awful because with him, that series with Colorado is sensational. And they probably get out of that seed anyway. The thing about the NHL playoffs is anybody can win it at any time. If you go back, I always have to be West Coast centric, but the Kings in 2012 were the 8th seed. They beat the 1 seed, the 2 seed, and the 3 seed by a 12-2. Only 2 games they were beaten, and then they basically went 16-4, beating the Devils 4-2 in the finals. They were the 8th seed. That's insane. That would never happen in the NBA. At one time, the the Nuggets beat the 1 seed, I think it was Seattle, and the NBA changed the rule. The first round was no longer a 5-game series. But this year there's some sensational teams. It's unlike there's definitely a higher tier with Tampa Bay, Florida, to a lesser extent Carolina and Colorado. They're just some real powerhouses. And hockey, like many other sports, is getting so much more athletic. It's much smaller, faster. Like the Golden Knights from Vegas, they drafted accordingly, kind of like what we discussed in the NFL, how franchises have their approach. And they were like skating circles around everyone, and the game is officiated differently. Long story short, hockey is awesome. The playoffs are awesome. If you've got a horse in the race, I mean, you guys know what I'm talking about. When the Preds went to the finals, I mean, that was electric. I felt it. And, the Kings are up 1-0 on Edmonton. They play tonight, and they're big underdogs. So that's the beauty of the NHL.
Yeah, I totally echo those statements. If you want to get into hockey and you want to just watch the Stanley Cup playoffs, which are, I agree, the second problem, so maybe third. So I go March Madness, NFL playoffs, then the Stanley Cup playoffs.
Fair.
Yeah, fill out a bracket and watch, because yes, it is a hot goalie. Like, yeah, the Preds goalie got hurt. Because it is a goalie getting hot. You can skate through, you can run through it, and it's the most exciting thing. The sudden death overtime, there's nothing like it. It is like the intensity of any moment. It can be over. It's one of the great atmospheres that there is in sports. On my bucket list is to go up to Canada and watch a playoff game in Canada.
That'd be
Either
sweet.
the Canadians or the
Toronto.
or the Senators. Yeah. So just go up there and see that, because, yeah, I've been to Nashville for many a playoff games. It's as intense as a sporting event as you will see.
Super
Unfortunately,
intense.
I had a broken foot during the Stanley Cup final run. I couldn't go to any games, but just seeing it on TV was unbelievable. Shane, I don't know if you went or not, but it looked nuts.
It was nuts out there. I didn't actually get inside the game, but I was downtown for one of them, and it was pretty awesome.
Yeah.
To your point, Rob, when the Kings were the 8th seed, Jonathan Quick had a historic postseason run, 1.4 like goals allowed per game, historic, and he just turned it on at the right time, kind of like March Madness, as you said.
Yeah, well, and that's how the Preds went around. I think we were the 7th seed.
Yeah, Pekka Rinne.
Pekka was in
Rinne.
They were the 7th seed, and got hot.
Yeah,
They were the
got
7th or
hot.
8th, same kind of thing.
Yeah, I think it was 7th seed or 8th seed, but Pekka was just on fire, man. And
Unstoppable.
that's what it takes.
All right,
Well, it's amazing to watch, like how like one person can there's everything around them going chaotic, and they're just in the zone. And like we ended up losing to Pittsburgh, and I think Pekka said like for whatever reason in Pittsburgh, like because they wear black, like his eyesight,
he could not see.
Yeah, they wore black behind the goalpost, and in that arena, he couldn't see the puck coming to him.
Yeah, that's messed up.
All right, guys, let's move on to the NBA. Let's talk about Memphis. Robbie, start there.
Please let us keep Ja Morant, man. What a stud he is. Winning against Timberwolves, missed the layup against Golden State, then comes back 18 points in the fourth quarter. Man, he's one of the most because he's the age that grew up watching Steph, and to go against him, we're all like LeBron. He's a lot younger than us now. So he grew up watching Steph and go up against him, and this kind of what's going to be a battle of the series, I hope. Well, Memphis is awesome sporting event. We're talking about atmospheres. Grizzlies fans are awesome. But yeah, man, Ja. Side note, dirty play by what's his face from the Grizzlies?
Dylan Brooks.
Yeah, that was a sad part of the game when Gary Payton Jr. started breaking his arm or his elbow. Hopefully he can recover. But a little negative on the game. But this series is going to be awesome. I wish it was on earlier every night, but that should be so fun.
Yeah, John Morant. He's the new guy to watch. Like he's the must see TV when he's playing. Like you want to tune in and watch this kid. He's unbelievable. He's clutch. He takes the team on his shoulders when he needs to, and man, that dude can jump out of the gym. So it's just so much fun to watch.
47. Oh, sorry.
No, I'll just say I hope the Grizz sign him and he becomes a long staple in Memphis.
Sensational. And if anybody saw that dunk from the Timberwolves series, oh my God. Like, that's one of the best dunks I've ever – I haven't been speechless and dropped my beverage in a long time. I couldn't believe it. I mean, that was just – oh, my God, that was nasty. Without Dylan Brooks, it's interesting they played well, but Ja had 47, 8, and 8, and 3 steals. And that was a big part. They created 18 turnovers to their 12, something like that. 20 to their 12, and then 13 steals. Ja was just, speechless. Shot 50% from the field. And most importantly, they made the Warriors stars, shoot. Curry was good, but Klay Thompson, they took him away. And sensational defensive effort as well. But 47, he makes me speechless, dude. He is a easily top 3 player in the league, in my opinion now. Easily. But.
All right, guys. Go ahead.
Hey, what do you think the Pelicans are thinking right now, picking Zion over him?
Not much, because point isn't their strongest point or area, excuse me. And you go back, that guy's easily number 1 overall.
Yeah.
Was that the Luka draft also? I can't recall.
Was that Luka and Trey? It may have been.
No, I can't recall, but bottom line, Ja's sensational.
A couple years before.
And he stays on the court, unlike Zion.
Right.
Hey, Zion. Hey, I'll tell you what, though. I'd be doing the same thing Zion's doing. I'd be partying, eating New Orleans food, and counting my money.
Cashing checks.
Yeah.
Getting paid. Yeah. He could have come back earlier, a lot of people said, and I agree with you. I think he probably put on 50 and was too busy crushing beers and other things.
Yeah.
All right, guys, let's wrap it up. This weekend, we're going to be releasing a show about attending sports events. A little look inside the world of the games we go to and the cost and what it looks like to take a family to a sporting event. A little 30-minute op-ed that'll be releasing Saturday. Robbie, we'll just pretend like your friends or your family. So, you take all your bum friends with you. So, anyway. All right, guys, final words. Let's get around. Let's start with Raj Mehta.
Not much to say, perhaps due to sobriety. That's an insensitive statement, but that hasn't been said already. The draft was entertaining. Overall, pretty intelligent. Ironically enough, Carolina was one of the dumber drafts, in my opinion. But overall, I thought, in Baltimore at 11, in terms of the service, I like Sportsline. Maybe they use too many metrics, and it's based on their player evaluation, but a very entertaining draft where a lot of intelligent picks. And again, the NHL playoffs, just sensational. Make sure you tune in. The Kings are about to start on ESPN2, by the way.
You got any bet your nuts for this week?
Ooh. Phoenix is definitely a bad matchup for the Mavs. I think it's at 6 right now. Devin Booker's back. They let Luka get his. Guy got like 47 or 50, whatever. But I'm not super heavy on this one, but I think Phoenix is going to beat Dallas comfortably tonight.
All right. Brendan Chain, final words as you search for a bet your nuts.
No, I've got my bet your nuts. Final words is the veteran wide receiver on the Titans right now is Nick Westbrook Akina. That is our veteran wide receiver room that we're
Who's
looking
active.
That's a little scary.
I don't even know what
I'm
number
gonna
he is.
I'm gonna leave
All right.
that. He's 15. I'm gonna leave that there. And then my bet you're nuts. It's the Mavs Suns. I know it's already started, but I like the over 217.5. First game was 235 points. I think they keep it rolling. I think it goes over 217.
Yeah, what he said. Although it's low scoring right now.
All right, Robbie. Final words. Bet you're nuts. Kyle Larson.
Yeah, so I said I'd mention this at the beginning of this show, and I want to mention it now. Last night, watching the Celtics play and watching what Grant Williams did and how he has performed as a pro basketball player and how he is elevated from a skinny or a slow, fat kid to now a very important NBA basketball player made me possibly future sad for Brandon Hartley Hatfield because he went to UT in Barnes system and 1 year didn't get what he wanted. He transferred out. And I just worry about kids like that if you don't see instant results, you're going to transfer and you're not going to meet your potential. It takes work and it takes hard work. And I hope Brandon the best. But that just came to my mind, this is the ugly part of the transfer portal. Is I just want to play instead of saying I want to get better and I want to earn my spot. So that's my one just takeaway of the day. My bet your nuts. Bob Bafford's out of Kentucky Derby. So I'm going to be betting on horses between 10-1 odds and 12-1 odds. That's my window. I think it's going to be a wild derby. So not betting the favorites. So I'm going in with that kind of window. Probably betting on all of them through that window. And then hopefully we are going to do a live show preview the Derby. Maybe during the Derby.
Yeah, we'll probably do that. I'll let
If
everybody
Brandon
know.
will bet 10 grand on a horse, then we should do it definitely live.
That's a Tuesday afternoon for that guy. By the way, Williams 21 points.
That's the closest to the pin on Wednesday wine night.
Hey, Williams 21 points. They were plus 22 with him on the floor. Great system. Can switch on everyone.
Yeah,
I agree. Sensational player. You guys have told me mom works for NASA. Hard not to root for a kid like that who's just a hard worker and learned as much as he could.
yeah.
I love it too. I love it too.
To go to Tennessee to play basketball.
That's it. All right, guys, let's get out of here for Raj Mehta, for Brendan Shane, for Robbie Davis. This has been your weekly Reckless Speculation. Join us this weekend for Op-Ed, and we will see you then.
What horse you betting 10 grand on, Brandon?